Welcome. What's good? Welcome to this episode of the Are You Listening podcast. My name is Austin Johnson, joined by my guy, Geo Baker. Geo, what has been good? What's been up?
Ain't nothing, man. Same old, same old. Happy to be back on the podcast. Talk about some Rutgers basketball. How about you, bro?
Chilling, man. Grind of the season, moving around, doing Rutgers games and other games, and the radio show for Fox Sports New Jersey as well. So just trying to make it happen. Some crazy developments in the Big Ten in college basketball. This is the time of the year. Football's over. Everybody has their eyes on what's happening in the world of college hoops with the NCAA tournament right around the corner.
Yeah, man. I mean, you talking about crazy stuff going on. We just seen Chris Holtman get fired in the middle of the season, which is I never really agree with that when a school does that. I don't
Yeah.
really see any major benefit. I guess you can officially start looking for a coach a little bit earlier, but you can do
Mm-hmm.
that behind the scenes anyway. So that's one of the crazy things that I saw. And then they turn around and just beat Purdue.
Right.
so, so they get their coach fired and they turn around and beat Purdue. So maybe there was something positive about it that he just wasn't doing something right. So I thought that was something that's real crazy. But then obviously you got Rutgers basketball too, who's been playing a lot better. Obviously they're coming off a loss against Minnesota, but won 3 of the last 4, and they've been looking a lot better lately.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that Holtman. I got that message on the Bleacher Report app, and I was shocked. I couldn't understand what I was comprehending because I thought that the midseason decision, and obviously hearing some of the feedback from players that I know that have played under him, they say he's a really good dude. So you don't ever want to see
Yeah,
anybody in that predicament. But business is business, and Ohio State runs a little bit differently as well with their athletic
most
program.
definitely.
Yeah, RU has been buzzing, man. It's been an exciting time over the last couple of weeks. Talk about a roller coaster of a season, man, of emotion. The integration of Jeremiah Williams getting back into the lineup. That kid is an absolute baller. We'll get into him in a little bit, but as you had alluded to, Rutgers won 3 out of the last 4. A tough one going out to Minnesota and ultimately losing that game. A lot of fight, but I don't know, man. Minneapolis just seems like one of those weird venues. It's elevated court, and maybe it's just a style of play over the years. But you've played there, and I know you said you had some insight into this most recent game. What did you think about that last contest against the Golden Gophers?
Man, before we even get to the contest, yeah, I think the energy in Minnesota is just weird. Like it is hard to explain if you haven't been there, but the arena is like dark. Like there's not like good lighting in there. They usually don't draw huge crowds, so the energy is like dead. I always found it really hard to just get energy when I'm in that gym, versus
Hmm.
like a Purdue or a Michigan State. It's like well lit. It's like a spotlight. You're into it. The crowd's into it. Everyone's talking, and it's just like it's different. Minnesota, it feels the opposite. It's like there's no energy at all either way, and it's a weird little vibe. But yeah, I was talking to the players, and they were kind of saying the same thing. Like it was just hard to like get over that energy hump, where it's like we need to get going. They
Sure.
did make a little run at the end of the game, defensively, where I thought they did a great job pressing Minnesota, forcing them into some turnovers, but obviously it was just too little, too late. And listen, even if you're a good basketball team, you're gonna lose games on the road in the Big Ten. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Um, how can you just have a short memory, move on, and you have to because you have a giant that you have to play next in Purdue, and they're just coming off a loss, like we just said, to Ohio State.
Yeah, I think you hit a spot on. First off, it's cold as hell out there. So I remember traveling to Minneapolis for other business related purposes, and one of those cities that you have to have skywalks to move around from, building to building in downtown Minneapolis because of just how cold and windy it gets, during the winter months. So that just throws you a little bit astray. I know it's cold here in the Northeast too, but it's not like how it gets in Minnesota. And then it's like the Palestra I would equate playing at Minnesota. It has a very vintage feel. And then I know from the radio perspective where Jerry and I typically sit, it's up there kind of in a sniper's box. So that's always a really unique vantage point too. And me covering the team now for 3 years, I've never won there. So it's just one of those very vaunted places of like, all right, maybe this is the year you can go out there and find ways to get a dub in a tough, hostile situation, no matter how good or bad the record of Minnesota has been. They always seem to be very, very competitive at home.
Yeah, and they are more talented this year too, just overall. I mean, I love the freshman's game. Christie,
Hmm.
they have some talented bigs on their roster, and they play like a fun style of basketball. And their coach always just seems super calm too. Like he
Yeah,
never seems like he's too stressed in the moment, and he makes some good in game adjustments. So I really like their team this year for sure.
I agree with that. He had a really good and impressive presser explaining her preparation and how high Jeremiah Williams was on the scout for them because he has been so impactful since he has been back in the lineup for Rutgers this season. And how, if you don't pack your toughness against a Steve Peichel coach group, then you lost the game before the tip even started. And I think that's
Yep.
where they definitely um, I think showed that they came to play. They weren't being bumped around. They weren't going
Weren't
to
being punked.
succumb to the trash talk or get punked, quite simply, as you
Yeah,
put it.
yeah, yeah. I thought against Minnesota, that was the first game that Jeremiah seemed a little bit uncomfortable. And again, like you were saying, I mean, when you play for Rutgers, it's about toughness, grit, and you don't really get punked by anybody. Um, and I think this was the first game where Rutgers kind of seemed, first game in the last five where Rutgers kind of seemed a little uncomfortable and out toughed, which usually doesn't happen. And then, with a guy like Jeremiah, how he's been playing, now that scouting report is starting to get built. You
Hmm.
you win four straight, and all of a sudden, like you said, you keep moving up the ladder in the scouting report, and people start to figure out your tendencies, and how you like to score, when you like to pass, different things like that, and they start to guard you a little bit different. So the next step for him is just being better than the scout.
Sure, sure, and a lot easier said than being done when you are the
Yeah.
main focal point. Have you had any conversations on how to deal with, going from being a superstar role player to now being the focal point, and what you have to do to be able to adjust to make sure that you continue to make winning plays for your team as opposed to forcing it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had any conversations with him, but I mean, just throughout my career, and I'm sure throughout your career too, you've had conversations with teammates about this all the time. And me and Ron used to talk about it. We used to talk about it with Coach Peichel, and we used to have plays where we would just be a decoy, like,
Hmm.
Gio, you're going to be in this corner. They're not going to help off of you. Ron, you're going to be able to go downhill, because now they have to decide, either are we going to guard the drive, or are we gonna stay with Geo in the corner? And there was little things like that that I'm sure Coach Michael is going to start working in with these guys too, and he probably already has too. I mean, the Big Ten is just so well scouted. You start to scout the plays, and then you're scouting what they're scouting for the plays, and it just kind of is a circle, and it's all really a game of chess. But those were the type of conversations that we used to have when it was me and Ron together, and helped us score more points when the other guy was willing to be like, oh yeah, I'll be the decoy in this play, or I'll cut this way so that way you're able to get open. So those are
Sure.
little things that all the guys are going to have to do now, just to help each other score a little bit more points.
Sure. And the evolution of the team over that 4 game winning streak. First off, some really impressive dubs. Michigan, Maryland, Northwestern, Wisconsin, not in that order, but how about those programs and being able to take them down? I know we haven't had a chance to catch up on some of those victories, but what has been your feeling about, the potential? It was a rough patch for some time, but showing how good the team can be when they're doing things in the right way. And some of these guys taking on new roles and responsibilities, Andre Hyatt being one of
Yeah.
them, Cliff Amore getting comfortable. I think having the expectations and finding ways to fight through, being again at that top of that scout. And then obviously Jeremiah Mawat. A lot of guys that are contributing on this team is what Jerry and I often say throughout the broadcast.
Yeah. I mean, as we just talked about how Jeremiah needs to be better than the scouting report. This man was amazing through 4 games. I mean, we're talking about a completely different team, just from his leadership. Like, sometimes it wasn't even really about his scoring. I mean, he was getting high assist numbers in all of those games,
Hmm.
sharing the ball, talking a little bit of trash, you know, bringing everybody into the huddle. You just saw, I think, for the first time on this team, like a real leader, a real leader. Both how he plays and then also vocally. Like he was doing it all, and I think that's what this team really needed. And now you're seeing other guys step up and be better. Like I think that's the best quality of Jeremiah, is that he's lifting everybody else's game up too. Like we saw
Cliff,
Cliff is a
insane.
perfect example. Oscar hits three threes
Hmm.
against Northwestern. Noah goes off against Wisconsin. I mean, we're seeing guys have big games, and it almost seems like they're all feeding off of Jeremiah's energy. Where now everyone feels a little bit more comfortable. Derek is been playing a lot harder than he was at the beginning of the season. I mean, defensively he's
Love what
been
he's been
been
bringing to this
great.
team
Yeah,
lately. He's
defensively
been
he's
phenomenal.
been amazing. He's been amazing. So I think, I mean, that's really just been the game changer. I mean, there's no coincidence that they won four in a row as soon as he came back.
Right.
That's just he's just been such a leader, and really happy where the team is going now, potential wise. I mean, I guess we still aren't really sure, right? I mean, they got six more left. I think the goal would be to win five out of the next six if you want a shot in the NCAA tournament. I don't even think that really gets you in, but it gives you a shot. Um, but I know these guys are ready for the challenge. Like the more I talk to them, you're like, well, why can't we do it? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And that's the mentality you have to have. You shouldn't have any other mentality other than why can't we do it? So I'm looking forward to seeing how they keep moving forward. But that's been my thoughts on it. I've been it's been fun to watch, man. They've had some real energy these last couple games.
Yeah, a resurgence for Cliff Amore. Not even a resurgence because he's played a really good season. When you look
Yep.
at the numbers, like he's been
Yeah.
dominant defensively. That is undeniable. People want him to go out and be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from a scoring
Yeah.
standpoint each and every night, and
Right.
it's hard when you are playing against some of these packed in defenses that are over scouting you as a big in this conference, and to the point of playing better. Jeremiah just creates so much new opportunity that I think he wasn't benefiting from
Definitely.
with his creation and playmaking ability, getting downhill and into the paint, and he drives and dimes, equivalent to some of the bigger guards that in years past have helped him to benefit as an individual player. Paul Mulcahy, guys like that as well. Um, come top of mind. Andre Hyatt, going to the from being a starter to the bench, now a starter again, without having any change in your mental approach. How about the professional aspect to that, being locked in, and then remaining steady if you
Yeah.
can. Um, Jamichael Davis, this dude is a hound on the ball. Yo, a pest. Like
Yeah.
what he did against Jameer Young and what he gets asked to do against the opposing team's best guard. The future is crazy for
Yeah.
him. I
He
think he
defended
could
Boo
be in
Booey really
that
well too. Yeah.
Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year type conversation if he continues to progress as he gets older in this program. So really exciting stuff, man. In addition to Jeremiah being a really good spark, but the question I have, I guess, the transition is the Minnesota loss is what it is. It's a tough win. It was a big game, and get to 5-0 or five in a row, and what that meant to be able to create separation between Rutgers and Minnesota right there in the middle of the muck. What do you think that means for the tournament hopes? And then, if it's detrimental, what does Rutgers need to do from a resume standpoint to continue to build an NCAA tournament resume? What would they need to do for the duration of the season?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to just talk about tournament hopes right now. Obviously, both of us being players in the past, we're gonna have that player mentality where it's like, okay, well, the season isn't over yet. We still have six more games. Obviously, right now, if you were to have a tournament bracket, Rutgers would not be in it. So that
Mm-hmm.
is the case right now. Um, for these guys, though, the mentality is just to take it one game at a time. I mean, you go on the road at Purdue, you win there. This to the outside, the season has changed now. The season has changed where you have a chance to go to the NCAA tournament. So for these guys, though, it's really just all about handling the scout, taking care of what you're supposed to take care of. We always play well against Purdue, and I know that these guys are going to be well prepared to go against Zach Edey and the rest of that squad. So how can you go one game at a time and just prepare mentally for that? But these guys shouldn't be thinking the season is over. They shouldn't be thinking in that way, just kind of how everyone on the outside is right now. So that's probably the most important thing for them. But just trying to take it one game at a time and see how the Big Ten tournament shakes out too. I mean, if you win a couple games of the Big Ten tournament as well, everything changes. Everything
Hmm.
changes. So how can they keep that positive mentality and just keep moving forward?
Yeah, you mentioned those games remaining on the schedule. That's Purdue on the 3rd, or apologies, Purdue on February 22nd, Maryland the 25th, Michigan the 29th, Nebraska March 3rd, Wisconsin the 7th, and Ohio State to conclude things in a regular
So
season on
it's a
March
lot of
10th.
winnable
So,
games, bro. It's a lot of
yeah,
winnable games. Like
I mean,
there's a way, there's a path, there's a
there
path.
definitely is. And a lot of chatter, obviously. You got all the gurus and the specialists who are coming out with their predictions. I've seen some mention that it could potentially be a case where they need to win 5 out of 6. But
Hmm.
I think things get interesting if they go in and do what nobody anticipates them doing and get a dub in West Lafayette, which they've done in recent history. Obviously, different
No,
roster, but this is a different team now with Jeremiah Williams back.
100% agree, bro. That's what I'm saying. I think they need to just stay positive, and the gurus are gonna do whatever they're gonna do, but that's at the end of the day, it's only you guys in that locker room. You got to be able to handle business. Me and you could talk about it all we want, or where we think what should they should do. Or at the end of the day, we're not in the locker room either. You know what I mean? So right now, it's just them, and I think now they have good leadership, both from the coaching staff and then a guy like Jeremiah, who's gonna continue to be in these guys' ears. Like, look, we can do it. We can do it, but we gotta do it together. And it's gonna be tough. Like winning at Purdue is not easy. These guys gotta be connected. They gotta be tough. And they're gonna have to make some shots too, honestly.
How about winning at Purdue after Purdue's coming off a loss?
Exactly. That's always the scary part. But I'm not gonna lie. I'm usually only scared about something like that when it's Michigan State. I don't know why. I've seen Tom Izzo close up. Seen Tom Izzo close up when they lose a game. Like I don't want no parts. I don't want no
Veins
parts of Tom Izzo
protruding,
after they lose a
flushing
game.
color.
Yeah, any other like see Matt Painter, he seems like a nice dude. Like it's fine,
He really
whatever. Like
does.
Tom Izzo seems like a nut. So like if they lose the game, he is not playing around. Like he probably would not feed them or something after. Like nah, I'm not going for that against Tom Izzo. Anyone else is all right. They lost, but that means they're on the downtrend. If Michigan State loses, that means they're on the uptrend.
I feel that. I respect that approach because I think one thing that we have learned about this team over the last 4 weeks is don't doubt them.
Mm-hmm.
That they can put one into two and turn two into three in regards to stringing together wins and getting stops and getting kills when you think that the momentum of the game is, out of hand. They just have an ability to flip a switch and go to a different level on the defensive side. If they're hitting shots, then they're extremely dangerous. So
Yep.
that combination of the two, turning opposing teams' water off, so to speak, and then the confidence that they have with this Jeremiah Williams, influence offensively has made this a very unique team trending at the right time with tournament play right around the corner, man. So good stuff. I mean, it's exciting times for Rutgers basketball. All in all, I'm looking forward to being able to chop it up to see how things progress after Purdue. Anything else on your side, top of mind?
Man, I just wish that Jeremiah was eligible earlier, man.
As we all do,
That's
man. I know.
that's the only thing I'm thinking about. It would have been a whole different season, but it is what it is now, and gotta handle business and control what you can control.
Yeah. What was the one play? Speaking of him, before we jump off the this episode, what's the one play that you were like, oh, all right, this dude he's actually like that?
Uh, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even say it's one play. It's funny. His game is like, so I like dudes who can like boogie. So like I like
Mm-hmm.
I like dudes that like I like
Operate
Kyrie.
in close
The way
quarters.
the way I play.
Yeah.
So like I really don't even like love the way he plays, to be honest with you. But at the same time, like in terms of just like my like thought of like, oh, this is a really skilled like guy. That's how I look at it. But like in terms of like winning basketball and the way he plays, it's been multiple things where he gets an offensive rebound. He got an offensive rebound off his own miss into a little floater and one. And it's like, oh shit, like that's a dog right there. Or like when he's
Yeah.
throwing a lob to Cliff, that's something that we haven't really seen a lot of this year. Like Cliff hasn't been catching as many lobs as he usually does. So he's getting downhill, a little no look lob to Cliff. Like, okay, he's got a little bit of basketball IQ too. And then you see
Mm-hmm.
him talking trash, like, oh, he can't fucking guard me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like I would, like, yeah, that shit makes me want to be on the court with him. Like, yeah, he can't
Yeah.
guard you. Like, so
The
I think just look,
gamesmanship.
yeah, a bunch of little things like that. You could tell that he's just very locked in and really wants to win. Like you could see it in his eyes. Like he is genuinely there to win basketball games and take the heart to the opponent. So that's everything that I've liked about him so far.
Yeah,
You got a play that you saw. You got a play that
I
you saw
mean,
that you
there's a few. The block was phenomenal. He's made
the
some
block.
open.
Okay, the block.
He's
That's
made
a good
some
one.
open court plays like in transition that have just been insane. Using his athletic ability. I didn't know kind of just how physically stout he was. He's strong on the
Yeah,
basketball. Like he's
yeah,
hard to
extreme.
bump off the rock. Even some really good defenders have been having issues trying to beat him to spots and keep him from getting out the paint, which has been really impressive. But I just love the swag. He just brought a different swag to the team with
Swag
some of
down.
the celebrations, and it's starting
Hell
to
yeah.
become contagious, as you were mentioning.
Hell yeah.
Oscar Palmquist is starting to hit the arrow again after he knocks in a couple of triples. You can just see that guys are more confident with that type of influence around. So it
Yeah,
would be injustice not to at least get a little bit of Jeremiah Williams in a tournament format to
I
see
agree.
how he could be in the Big Ten, or if they were to find a way to get to the NCAAs or whatever it may be. I don't want to speculate, but it would be quality basketball seeing him compete on that type of format.
100%. I agree, bro. I agree for sure.
All right, man. We will see. Good chopping it up with you. RU basketball has Purdue on the horizon. We'll be back for another episode before the season concludes and see if they can continue to build that resume, in crunch time. Until then, appreciate you guys tuning in to the Are You Listening podcast. I'm Austin Johnson. This is Geo Baker. We'll catch you next time.